Welcome to the Dr. Hockey Podcast. I'm Dr. J. Calvert. Today, a very special guest. Even before I can introduce my co-host, I gotta say, John Blue, welcome back.
Great to be here. Missed you guys. Excited to be and spend some time with you tonight.
Excellent. Jason, sorry, too excited, man. I can't tell you. I'm pumped for Blue.
Come on, baby.
And of course, with us, our Manscaped 6'7", weighing in at 220 pounds, Jason Berkley, our pain specialist. And tell us more about the manscaping, Jason. You seem to have a dog in this race before we got this podcast going.
Shahob was telling us about his beard, which is manly and puts us all to shame.
Yes.
And how expensive it is to maintain. He's ordering shampoos from France. And then Blue said, at least you're not manscaping. And I said, what's wrong with that?
I wasn't judging. I was judging.
Yeah,
you were judging, Blue. If you showed up at the locker room of the Bruins manscaped back in the day, you would have gotten you'd be in the Charles River.
I was just ashamed of walking around naked in that room. Let me tell you, a little guy like me, it wasn't pretty.
especially if the air conditioning was on.
Yeah. Well, ice and cold, they say. So
I was in the pool.
Don't you know about shrinkage?
Shrinkage. Oh God.
Well, Shahob, you do have a manly beard.
Thank you. It takes a lot to maintain it. Beard shampoo, beard conditioner, twice a week. We got to get it done.
Sounds like a lot.
Well done.
It is a lot. It's pretty expensive too, unfortunately. So we got to figure this out soon enough.
So Shahob, of course, is one of our producers and helps wrangle our guests. So we're admiring how the beard has come in strong lately. I don't know, what's the deal? Is it just is it your winter beard or?
No, so my barber just had a newborn, and then for the last 2 weeks, I was scared to text him. Like, should I distract him? Like, I want to get a haircut, but at the same time, I don't want to, bother him in his newborn. So today, I finally bit the bullet and said, "Hey, can I come over?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm on parental leave. You can come over whenever you want. I'll cut your hair and beard up." So
there you go.
That is such an answer from a single man. That a man who just had a baby doesn't want to see another man. I mean, you're crying out to get out of the house. It's like, come on. A quick story. My son, I've got to brag. I'm incredibly proud. He just got his trident as a Navy SEAL.
Wow.
And he just had a baby about 6 months ago, and he came to me one day and he's like, "Dad, Hell Week was easier. Hell Week is easier than dealing with this. I got more sleep the 2 hours that I got in Hell Week than I have this whole time with this baby and my wife." So Shahob, look, you got a lot to look forward to.
Oh, it's not my baby. It's my barber's baby.
yeah, I know.
As far as you know.
I'm telling you, that there's also the baby is there, and that barber needs to make some money. I'm telling you, you have no idea what you pay for these kids.
Pay for that baby.
I was like, do I have to bring his baby a toy now? Do I have to bring his wife some flowers, something? No one ever told me that when your friends have kids, it's expensive for you too. Like, you got to buy them stuff now. Yeah. I'm just figuring this out.
The only thing you really need to do is, if your friend has a child and then they have an older child, you bring a gift for the baby and for the other child, so that the other child doesn't feel left out. That's the only thing.
What's the budget? What's the budget on this?
Go on Temu or something like that and get something for like $10.
Yeah, Shahob, it's a sacrifice. You give that so that you don't have to. You go, here, take it. I'll keep my money, pay a little bit here. It's like a tax. You'll be fine.
That's right.
But here's extra tip for the haircut too.
Yeah. There you go. Well, let's get into the NHL now that we've got our beard squared away here. And, our manscaping. Blue, I know you've been watching the season. I know you got to be admiring some of the goaltending going on, which, going into the playoffs, there is no bigger X factor than the goaltending for these top teams. And that's why I thought this would be the appropriate time to get your take on where we are.
Yeah, it is. I was started looking through again the last couple of days. Just, I am amazed at what some of these guys are doing. And I went back and started looking at the size of these guys again. And I know it's the obvious, but 6'4", 6'5", and just how they're playing. It's just I am blown away by the athleticism in some of these guys, or all of these guys, anyone playing at that level. The athleticism and the size is just mind blowing. And we're just seeing some great goaltending coming down the stretch. It's going to be real interesting to see who takes it to the next level. A few of these goalies, it's the last thing to really, I think, to lock them in and confirm their greatness or their, who they are in the world of goaltending in the NHL. There's several of them that need to take this next step in order to kind of get over that hump.
I mean, completely. And I'm just, just thinking about who's at the top of the league right now. I mean, I'm looking at Bobrovsky and Stolars, and I'm thinking that this could be the cup tandem. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be hard to argue, and especially with Stolarz, I think he's performed beyond what they expected him to perform. But you look at Bobrovsky, and it's just like he looks better than he's ever looked, in my opinion. He's 34, 35. I should have looked that up, but he's right there at the cusp of, get him out of there. But he looks strong. Now, you listen to his teammates and Paul Maurice, and they have nothing but they rave about his discipline, his eating habits, his work ethic, everything that you need to at 35 to play at the level that he's playing at. And it's fun to watch. It's going to be tough to get through that. You look at. Go ahead.
I want to be a Debbie Downer, interrupt you for just a second. Go back a year.
Yeah.
Last year.
Okay.
He played like hot garbage in the regular season. He was replaced. He didn't start the playoffs. He's known for being very hot for a while, and then out of nowhere, the spigot runs dry, and then it's like a different player. So the question I have is, because of this almost a roller coaster-ish way that he plays sometimes, if let's say he starts faltering and falls back like he did last season before the playoffs fully he got put in, does their backup goalie then have a chance to put them over the top?
Well, I think, anybody
or
at
injury.
this level.
Let's say injury. Let's just be nice and say injury. But for whatever reason, there's something that happens. He's not able to kind of carry them.
Yeah, I think every backup goalie number two's dream is that that's the situation, and then you step into your greatness at that moment. Now, that's easier said than done, or harder than I had that situation in Boston and didn't pull it off, unfortunately. Andy Moog went early we were number 1 seed. We're playing against Buffalo, number 8 seed, and he struggles the first game, struggles the second game, gets pulled. I go in, and then I start game 3, lose in overtime, 3-2 Howard Chuck. I think it's 3-2 or 3-4. Howard Chuck scores a power play goal between the legs. That was painful. They go back with Moog, and then we go to the Mayday goal, if you remember correctly. Mayday, when he scores, walks Ray Bork and then walks around Moger. So, it's a rarity. If that happens, Jason, it is, gosh, to see that. We saw it with Washington. I just went blank. Goalie about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, stepped in and beat the Rangers at home. Come on, help me here. I'm old. Had a great Brandon Holtby stepped in and kind of established his career around that playoff run against the Rangers. If you remember, he played really well, and then it kind of launched his career, and then he went in and ended up winning a cup. But yeah, Jason, that is a hard one. And when you look throughout the league, you look at the different goalies, the Bruins are probably in one of the better positions with 1A, 1B, and you wouldn't say the same thing, Jason, if you're looking at the Bruins. Right. I even would lean in the same direction with the Rangers, with the way that I don't know what the score is tonight. It was 0-0 when I left. I don't know what it is, but quick start tonight against New Jersey. I would lean in. There's so much experience, and he's played so well that that could be the situation in New York. There's only a handful of those really in the league, but I think to your point, Jason, you're probably statistically, if I was going to Vegas, I bet as you bet there, but this is why I love the game, because out of nowhere, someone makes a save, and the next thing you know, everything changes.
Yeah, that was the thing also a few years ago when Brizgalov, he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
And he became like this highly sought after guy, and then kind of faded away. And that was the end of that.
Yeah.
But
even Bobrovsky last year, stepping in after, like you said, the struggle, and then stepping his game up. So it'll be interesting to see. It's gosh, when you start into playoffs, as you guys know, it's like starting a whole nother season, and it's a grind. The emotionally and the mental grind and the physical, the game changes. Nothing better than playoff hockey. I argued all day long. There is nothing better than playoff hockey. Love football, absolutely love basketball. You can keep, but playoff hockey, there's just some emotional, it's just an incredible game.
Well, and the thing about Bobrovsky is that discipline and his eating habits I first heard about when we started this podcast many, many years ago from Amy Jones, whose son Seth was on the Blue Jackets with Bobrovsky. And she even commented on this guy's work ethic and how he would show up earlier than everybody and had like a set of drills that he did, and that he just is, he's just an athlete, par excellence. But yeah, we know there's like some sort of, headpiece to his playing. Right now, my brother lives in Florida in West Palm, and his expression was, "Did you see Bobrovsky last night? He went full Matrix on this game." And he said he's doing moves that just look like, how did he stop that goal? How did he stop that puck? So he's got game, but I thought the Panthers was the first place to start because they do have a strong tandem. And Jason, I think Stolarz is going to, if he does get that tap, he can do it. I was so disappointed when the Ducks traded him.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I'll say that's the question that I think every team with a number 1 and number 2 goalie rather than 1A and 1B is asking themselves going into the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, look at that Atlantic Conference. Gosh, 92, 91, and 82. I mean, Toronto, God, if they pull off a miracle, which they won't, great, but they're, at least pushing as they usually do. But to watch those two, Boston, that's going to be critical, whoever takes that top spot, because the other two, at the end, if you end up facing off one another, where you're going to be playing those games is critical, and then you go your 2-point difference in the Metropolitan with the Rangers and Carolina, and Philadelphia's on their heels, but then you got Tampa Bay and that wild card in New York Island. It's a fun, really Eastern Conference.
Oh yeah, it's tight, and the talent is crazy. The Rangers. The Rangers just on any given night have so much firepower out there. It's hard to believe that they even lose a game, but somehow they do.
Yeah, which they've had a couple little bumps, and I just Shesterkin, if he can get rolling and stay rolling. Look, that's stupid. I just read a stat on him. He had his 200th career game and his 126 career wins. There's only 2 goalies in NHL history that have more wins in their first 200 games. Bill Durham in like the 40s, and Larocque did it in 73 through 84 or something like that. So this kid is yet again another great New York Ranger. When's the last time the Rangers have had crappy goaltending? Where they've just, they're goaltending. Richter, and it just, the 80s.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they haven't had a good goalie, and Shesterkin is just, he's incredible. He's so good. He is I see him as a big part of the offense, which is really interesting. He's the only goalie that I see like that in the league, and his outlet passing, his understanding of how to generate offense clearly helps them when he's on the ice. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that you'd say that. Yeah, I mean, he's very active, and even his ability to control the play in front of him. Some goalies aren't really good, but you watch, he's very good at controlling pucks, and as they don't just bounce off of him in front of him for the next easy layup. It's very, very good with his body and controlling those shots. And then the other thing is, how that you look at a Boston and you look at a New York, and the confidence that a Shesterkin and Ullmark and Swayman and these guys give the guys in front. You can play a little different game. And the Rangers, the Florida, I mean, the top teams, Toronto doesn't have that, I don't think, have that luxury. Carolina, we'll see. I didn't even look in to see what's going on with Anderson. Will he be back to play in the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That'll be a big question for them, because I mean, certainly Carolina is a contender, but this is where you need. And on the last podcast, where unfortunately Jason didn't make it because we had a pretty good chat with Brent Severin about the Colorado Avalanche, and that he was on the team that won the cup there.
Yeah.
And he said you need the goaltending. If you don't have the goaltending, I don't care. You can have all the offense and the most incredible defense, and you can be healthy, but without the goaltending, you are not going to win the Stanley Cup. It has to be that your goaltender is on fire when you get there.
Well, even when Colorado won it, he wasn't flashy. He didn't do anything spectacular. He made the saves he needed to make at the right time so that his team could do what they needed to do.
All right.
Goaltending comes down. We've talked about it, I think, but it's the simplicity is the complexity and the beauty of goaltending. You make the saves you're supposed to make, and then steal one once in a while. You do that, you're going to be an all-star goaltender. Right. The guys who are consistent and making the saves they're supposed to, and then you steal one here or there.
It's funny. I was listening on after a Ducks game. I was driving home, and they had on a little piece between Guy Bear and Teemu Selanne. Have you heard this piece?
No. What were they?
They were talking about because Guy was there before Jaguar, and Guy Bear was the goaltender prior to the Ducks winning the cup,
right?
And in 2007, but Teemu was saying, like, they went into one playoff series with the Detroit Red Wings, and Teemu said this like without any question. He's like, you knew we were going to score 4 goals. He goes, that wasn't the issue. He goes, in every one of those games, and I think they lost the series in 4 straight to the Red Wings. He goes, Guy Bear faced an average of 93 shots.
Oh, jeez. Jeez. Yeah. That's just...
And he was cracking up. He was like, he was seeing Gibo, he called him. He goes, Gibo was seeing a lot of rubber in those days.
Yeah. You just can't. I mean, how do you win that? It's just, you can't do it.
Teemu was laughing his butt off. He was just like,
I'm sure he was
cracking up at poor Guy's like misfortune.
Yeah. Got a tick probably, but yeah, exactly.
I mean, 93 shots. How are you going to defend against that?
Yeah, that's not playoff hockey.
No, the Red Wings back in that. I mean,
unfortunately,
what?
Things have certainly changed, unfortunately, for the team.
Yeah, well, they're coming around, Jason. Don't worry.
Yeah.
No,
I was trying to be nice.
I think, unfortunately, that ship has sailed. I don't think the team's going to make the playoffs now. They're 0-5 the last 5 games. And it's ever since they started wearing that stupid
trash. I saw that. I read that.
That there's actually it's funny, there's a Twitter account now called, right now his name's 5-0 The Patch. And he goes, I'm here to ruin any chance of your playoffs. It's like, it's an advertisement for some garbage company. We call it the trash match. And I'm sorry. I personally think Chris Ilitch should be embarrassed. His dad would never have done that, and desecrating such a classic original uniform. I don't think there's any room for that kind of. You want to put on the helmet, fine. You make a couple extra bucks. But I think in general, I'm seeing these patches on all these teams like that. This is going to end up like soccer, where you can have the entire jersey is going to say the company name, and you're not even rooting. You don't even know who you're rooting for anymore. You're rooting for a corporate.
That's European hockey. You know, everything's a big advertise. Back to, I think, Detroit. I saw Yzerman, and I read one of his quotes, and he's, he didn't make any big dramatic moves at the deadline. He's just like, I don't want to give up the future. I feel like we have what we need, the pieces to go forward. It may not be this year, but that's a guy that you go, all right, as tough as it may be, take it on the chin. We're not going to make the playoffs. I trust this man. This man's going to take us.
I do too. And the problem is, you see online these armchair GMs in general for whatever team it is, and I see this for other teams too, but particularly for the Red Wings, that they're saying he's had 5 years. It's time for us to make the play. And I've said this before on the podcast. He entered into a literal shit show.
Yeah,
like a maid walking into a room, and there's like. The carpet's torn up, the bed's overturned and thrown out the window, and you have a person coming to check in an hour. You can't get that in room and ready for that just yet. He had a lot of bad contracts, a lot of buyouts and people that were injured and things like that. Stephen Weiss, I think, collected money up until just last year. He hasn't played like 5-6 years.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of like contracts like that, these no trade clauses. Gave guys that were mediocre players long-term deals. And finally, with the departure of Philip Zadina at the beginning of the season, I think we kind of finally, the last pick, I think, that Holland made that's still on the team, I want to say it's either Larkin probably and maybe Rasmussen. I don't remember exactly, but literally it's like the remnants of the old empire or the old republic are swept away by, like as they said in Star Wars. We're on to the new. And so I think that, you got to give the guy a little slack there and say this is probably technically his third year really of the rebuild. And so, look, we're right now, I'm optimistic and hoping that we can get back into the playoff hunt, but the way they're playing and without Dylan Larkin for another week or so, at least from his injury, they just look lost out there on the ice. And, a deep playoff team can overcome with the loss of one of their star players. That's the difference, and I'm sure you can attest to that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Patience, time. It's when I look at it, I'm like, a couple of years ago, I could give a rip if Detroit was playing. Now, I literally, but now I'm like, okay, I enjoy. Even came back and just some of the moves, I'm like, all right. Detroit's playing, all right. I can watch that.
Right. Well, that's
shifted to the Ducks now.
And one of the things is that Jay and I talked about this before, that it was interesting to see that in the last year and a half or so, especially this year, we're not facing the number 2 or the 1B goalies anymore for these teams. Yeah, they're not looking at us like a sure win. We're facing their number 1 goalies. So we've shown we can beat anybody in the league. We've beat the top team. But the last 5 games since the patch and since Larkin's been out, it's been a complete disaster on the ice. There's no other way to describe it. Yeah. So
let's just shift to the Western Conference a little bit and your thoughts. I want to hear your guys' thoughts over there. Obviously, we've got Vancouver and Demko is just, California kid. Gotta love it. Just playing so well. Another one of those just big kids. It's just moves so well. It's fun to watch. It's fluid and goodness. It just I love the way he's playing.
Yeah, I'm going to go on record. He's amazing.
I'm going to say, Jay, I'm going to go on record as saying that the Golden Knights are going to come back and win again. They made some key moves at the deadline.
Yeah.
The biggest one was Noah Hannafin getting him from Calgary. I mean, that was huge.
Huge. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And they're in a wild card spot right now, but they're going to be, they're not going to necessarily catch Vancouver, but they're going to be in the number 2, number 3 position in the Pacific, and then go into the playoffs playing hot. I'm telling you, the Vegas is the team to look out for in the Western Conference.
That's hard to argue. I think a lot of that it really fits where we're talking today. It's Thompson and Hill. I think in order to, with some great additions and a solid club, those guys are going to have to play the level that we saw last year when they won the cup. They're going to have to move it up a notch or two in order for that to happen, because as we said, you're fighting for a wild card. So right away, we know where we're sitting when playoffs start. We're going into the opposing building. Well, pretty much the rest of the playoffs, we're going into the opposing building. We've lost home ice. So, we've got to grab an advantage in that. That is going to be the battle of the goaltending.
Tomas Hertl is another guy that the Vegas.
Hertl.
Yeah, I think he's injured. He'll be back in about a week or two. But I'm just saying, like, this team they made these great pickups at the deadline.
Well,
they have cap space. It's like Toronto. I don't understand how they have cap space.
Well, they got rid of what's his name, Riley Smith, and that was a big one of their cap moves, because they obviously didn't want to get rid of him. He was like their star player in the Stanley Cup last year, but they looked at everybody they got, they did the math, and he went to the Penguins. So where he hasn't done a whole lot, quite honestly. It's not been a great year for him over there. So it was probably the right move. But the problems that the Golden Knights had, I think, are solved with some of their trade deadline moves. And if Marchessault can step it up and come back a little bit, I think he's been hurt. I don't think he's had a great year like he did last year. He's doing well, but like he's not at none of those guys are at the same level. Eichel's not at the same level, but playoffs may wake them up a little bit.
Yeah. What tandems do you like? We'll go back to goaltending in the West. Who are your guys? Who do you like in the West?
Well, that's one of the questions that I had for you, Blue, because I think that the top teams in the West, like Connor Hellebuck and the Jets, I think they made some trade deadline moves that I don't know how they could have gotten any better, but they just got Tyler Toffoli to reunite with Iafallo, his old teammate from LA, and they're playing out of their heads in Winnipeg. And Connor Hellebuck he's money. The guy's he's incredible.
He's one of the guys that I was referring to early when we started this podcast, was that I think you watch his body of work over his career and just phenomenal. It's just that next level. He's got to get them to that next level. And he never wins a cup. He's phenomenal. I'm just saying how people perceive and how people look at things, but he's one of those guys you go, gosh, he has been so good for so long, just that little run and get him to the cup, and who knows what can happen here. He's, in my opinion, one of those guys. And what they're, like you said, what they're doing there, that's a dangerous team. I don't want to match up against them.
No, they're stacked with talent, and they have been. That's Mark Scheifele, one of the most underrated players in the NHL. The guys, he's a king of offensive visualization. He's creative. He's such a role player for them, and then they're stacked top to bottom with talent. I don't see how they could, not make it deep in the playoffs, if not to the Stanley Cup final.
Right. Where do you put Vancouver? I mean, they're leading. They're 1 point behind Florida, I think, for the President's Trophy, or right around there. I don't know, 91 or 90 points. As we said, Demko is playing fantastic. DeSmith now all of a sudden,
I know.
he's playing well. They're a team that I wouldn't put money in Vegas on. There's just, maybe it's because they're Vancouver. It just they scare me. They just, even though you go statistically and you look at them and you watch them and you go, they just scare me a little bit. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that.
Well, Blue, I want to I'm going to Jason this one a little bit, but I'm going to reverse Jason it.
Okay.
Who's the GM of the Vancouver Canucks that created this team? Rutherford.
Oh yeah. Oh well.
Who's the coach of the team?
Yeah.
Rick Tocchet.
Yeah.
Who's the president?
Jeez, going right down the line. Okay. Yeah.
So, and where did Casey DeSmith come from?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's Pittsburgh West. And the last time these guys got together, they won a couple of Stanley Cups in a row pretty recently. So I wouldn't put it past them. I don't see them as the Vancouver of the Sedin brothers. I see them.
You know what? Hope you're right.
Yeah, I mean, the people of Vancouver deserve it. They are cup hungry in that city, and they are cup hungry in Winnipeg too. But like Vancouver's got a special spot.
Is Demko, Shesterkin, or Ullmark, Sway? Is he in that elite level? I mean, statistically and numberly, we can say yes, absolutely. His numbers are right there. Is he there, in your opinion, Jason and Jay?
Well, from my standpoint, I think he's not there. I think Demko's really good. I think he's a recent elevation to this level.
Yeah.
He wasn't this good last year, and certainly the year before. He was learning his way. But does this mean that he's reached that level and now he's only going up? Possibly.
Yeah.
I think he's really, I think the real power behind Demko, quite honestly, is Quinn Hughes. I think Quinn knows how to run the D. This kid is he is beyond intelligent as a defenseman for his age. I mean, it's no wonder they made him captain of the team. But on top of that, like it's really hard to score goals on Vancouver. It really is, and it's not just Demko. It's because they move people a certain way. They've got they have a real vision for their defense. And then, of course, up front, the firepower is just, it's up there. They are another team, though, that doesn't have that one, star, goal scorer. They win by committee, and it's awesome to watch. They're fun to watch. I've always liked watching that team play. Unfortunately, they tend to beat up on the teams that I really like, but that's okay. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think that Demko has that level just yet. But talk to me after the playoffs, and I might have a different opinion.
Who is your team? What's that, Jason?
I'm saying the playoffs are a different situation altogether. You could say all you want about the regular season and that sort of thing, but it's a brand new season and it goes up a couple notches.
Yeah. So I think for me, out of the West, obviously if Vancouver is rolling and all these things come to be, I'm a little cynical, but if they continue, I think they're the team out of the West. But the Dallas Stars is the one that in my gut, I just go, gosh, Ottenberg and even Wedgwood has been solid as number two. They just physical. They just seem like they have a lot of the pieces. I don't know. I like that team a lot.
Well, yeah. Again, last week talking with Brent Severin about Dallas. He does the color commentary for the Stars. I just was like something about the combination of their young players with Jamie Benn and Joe Pavelski and I think
Pavelski, what is he? 84.
What?
Oh, Pavelski, how old is he now? 84. It's just like he just continue. I mean, dear Lord, it's not fair. How are we not gifted like that? With
he's amazing.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, Pavelski he's one of my favorite players in the NHL. He's just he's never been. He's not a big guy. First of all,
no,
he doesn't. He doesn't overpower anybody. He outsmarts everybody.
Yeah,
he is a guy that makes Jason Robertson better and makes Rope Hintz better, and he's that guy that you want on the power play. You want his leadership, and Dallas Stars they're killing it. They look great.
Yeah, they're really good. Okay, how about everyone's favorite Edmonton Oilers?
Well, this was one of the preloaded questions for you, Blue, because Jason and I are just wondering.
Jason's back.
I'm here. I tell you, tale of two cities with Edmonton. That's all I can say.
Wait, can I just interrupt for 1 second there, Jason, before we go there? I want to apologize to you because at a point earlier in this podcast, I think just about 2 minutes ago, you said that's a different thing altogether. And Blue and I did not jump in and go, it's a different thing. So because of the 80s movie theme that we have to kind of perpetuate through this podcast. And for
Entirely-
those
it's
of you
entirely
following
different.
along at home in airplane, it's a
entirely
different
different
thing.
kind of
Flying this
flying
plane is a
altogether.
different thing altogether. Flying this
not
plane,
bite.
it's a different thing. Okay, back to the Oilers, because this is a hot topic, and it all comes down to is, when is Connor McDavid asking for the trade?
Well, okay, pause that, because do you have any information? Did anybody read the latest about Crosby? I don't even know if it's true. I just got a snippet of Crosby talking about he's not happy with management and wants out of there. Before we go over to Edmonton, do you guys have any insight on that?
I don't, but I'll be in Pittsburgh this weekend, and I'm going to make a really strong play to, big beg request to Jay Caulfield to get me on in between periods from the Dr. Hockey podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try. Maybe I'll just crash I know where they are, up in the roof there. I'll go up and just see if I can run onto the set and start talking about that. I don't know. I wouldn't imagine that Crosby wants to stay there at Mario's not there anymore. It's like it's a different thing. It's not it's a different thing altogether.
But can you imagine him in a different uniform?
No, but I can also imagine that he's a practical guy and he loves playing, and he probably feels like he's got a couple more good years. I mean, he's scoring goals pretty regularly as a 36-year-old guy or whatever he is now. I mean, he's probably looking at Joe Pavelski going like, this guy's going to the Stanley Cup final. Where am I going?
Tell Jay Caulfield I said hello. I played with him in the minors years ago. Great guy.
No way.
Really good guy. Way back.
Oh, he's so cool. I have so much fun with him.
Edmonton. Let's go to Edmonton again. So, as much as it's Edmonton, it's been so much fun to me to watch them just be absolutely horrible, and then just watch them go on this run and watch this kid Skinner after, it couldn't be much worse the way he started or they started. I mean, this is sophomore second season, and just, slump of slumps and coaches changes. And then just, and then he goes into a 12-game win streak.
Yeah.
Skinner had it, and you go, I love it. I love it. I love watching it. And his some of his performances, when you watch some of the highlight and you watch the confidence he's playing with, he's playing big, it's going to be a fun one to watch. He hasn't been perfect, and obviously, but the beauty of him, when you look at the numbers in Edmonton, he fits their salary cap perfect. They can't make any big moves for a goalie. No. They don't have it. They've got nowhere to go.
Nope.
I think he's at like 2.5 this year, and I don't know if he's in the last year where he's at, but for a guy and what you're going to get for the money and where they put themselves, I like him. I love the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's Skinner, and then who's the other goalie for them? Is Picard, that's right. So, I mean,
8-3-0.
I mean, they could have it, but I what is with that team? It always is like a head scratcher. And then they took two guys from the Ducks up there. They got Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick, who I love watching Sam play, but he's not like an offensive machine. Adam's great for the face-offs, and I don't know what that trade was about. What do you think that was for?
Yeah, there's a number that you don't know what the hell they're thinking. And you scratch and and you go, okay, well, maybe
like were those like the big moves that like we're going to go on a deep playoff run here? Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick are helpers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're great players. I think Adam's super strong. Like he's an incredible guy to have on any team. He's got veteran presence, leadership role. He's great at faceoffs. I mean, maybe they need him for third line center or something I don't know, but it just seems like you're looking at the playoffs, and there had to be like a big defenseman or something like that they needed.
Well, and we're back to, they're so limited in what they can do, so maybe they saw something that maybe a locker room guy, maybe I don't know. There's so many factors that we can't see that you go, okay, that seems like a lateral or less than a lateral move, but we don't see things. We do know this, that there's not a lot of room. If they had the room, I think they go big over, and dip into a couple pieces that they definitely had need for. But you just, in this era and what we have, let me ask you that. If there was no salary cap, would you rather see an NHL salary cap and these kind of restrictions and these kind of, or old school, 80s, buy what you want to buy?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think
I'm gonna go with a hybrid. I think the cap should be a lot higher, is my feeling. Okay. And yes, they want to have some parity in the league and have some smaller markets be able to eventually do well and that sort of thing. And I understand that, but by the same token, you don't want a team just going out there and buying a championship. That's also not good either.
Yankees.
So yeah. So
and that by the way, though, Jason, that didn't really work out all the time. I mean, the Rangers.
That's true.
The Rangers bought players left and right through the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, they did get a cup in 94, but I remember they used to they threw down at the end of the season every year, and then they get pasted in the
playoffs. But we know why. We know why that happens a lot of times, because you're upsetting the chemistry of teams, and guys that are coming in that are great players may not be great on a team in a situation like that. They got to be able to play with each other for longer periods, than just a couple weeks. But I'm saying just in general, I think that the cap should be a lot higher and allow teams to have a little more flexibility. This is just getting annoying where you're seeing a player that's, they can't keep him because it's too much, and they get rid of him, and then they have to retain salary. It's too annoying. I'm sorry, too much. They should raise the cap space, and raise raise to like 120 million or something like that. Let the teams really kind of have some flexibility.
Yeah, especially when the percentage of that cap is taken up by a small number of players. It is really hurtful.
Right.
Yeah. Let's go back to a team that we have not, which is, a shock, have said a word about in the East. Do you know who I'm thinking about? Tampa Bay. I mean, are you kidding me? We have not mentioned Tampa Bay in 50 minutes of conversation.
Right?
What's that?
They picked up Dumba and Declare. Didn't that happen over and I think they won their first game 5-0 out of the gate with them. So look, I mean, they're not the same. I just don't think that I don't know. I don't know if they have that same firepower anymore. Vasilevsky, I don't think again, after having back surgery, you're not the same person.
Yeah.
You're just not. I mean, I'm telling you that from a personal experience, and I see it from enough patients. You are not that same person. You are not able to get into certain positions and postures and whatever else that you maybe once did. And if you do, I'd be surprised if he's pain-free.
Well, even as an athlete, when you have those injuries, the comfortability of doing something you did before, you start thinking twice about it.
Right. That's the point.
You're not just your natural reaction isn't your natural action anymore.
Right.
It becomes more defensive, and that changes your game. So that would make sense.
Yeah, and so he's also susceptible to having a reherniation, and then he's looking at maybe getting a fusion or whatever else, and it's just you're just not the same person. Unfortunately, Henrik Zetterberg, and obviously not a goalie, but learned that after his back surgery, he just couldn't do it.
That's right.
And he had to retire early, and it was a shame. We all hated to see him go, but and again, the one thing they say, well, these guys are highly conditioned athletes, and that they're still human.
Yeah,
still people. They still bleed. I mean, they still have problems. I mean, it's not like there's some kind of Superman or Wolverine. You know what I mean?
You think about the multiple games. I mean, just the sheer number of games they played for that block of time that they were, the Tampa Bay,
amazing.
Lightning. Just that wear and tear in the body, Jason. Exponentially playoff wear and tear is in my opinion would exponentially more wearing than regular season.
I had my surgery when I was 34 years old on my back.
Yeah.
The same thing he had. I had a 2-level discectomy. 6 months later, now again, I wasn't a pro athlete, but I went to the batting cage with my dad 6 months later, and then the pain came right back down behind my leg. Thank God it went away.
Yeah.
And I've had issues since, but it's just you're not the same person.
Yeah.
The dynamics of the body. So I don't know if he's going to be able to be that guy, and very big question mark there.
Well, but they have the firepower though. Kucherov's having a banner season. Like they've still got all the pieces. So who knows?
Like a Toronto, where you try to outscore the other team every single night.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, that worked for Mario Lemieux in the Pittsburgh Penguins, because they gave Tom Barrasso a stick and a glove and a blocker, and they said, stop people if they come down here. We're all going to be at the other end trying to score goals. That was their game plan for when they had those teams.
Absolutely, but you're going to get 6 goals a game. You could, I could have won once in a while there.
Totally.
It's like Brasso, it's a great goaltender, Hall of Fame goaltender. But you're right. It's nice to know that your team's going to score 6. So if you give up a squirrely goal, that they're gonna score. Yeah,
exactly.
Toronto, I don't see Tom Brasso in the net in Toronto. So that's there's
definitely not.
Well,
so Blue, just to kind of come back around to this whole topic that I wanted to go over. Coming into the playoffs, if you had to bet on the team to win based on goaltending, who's your favorite in the East? Who's your favorite in the West?
The East, I'm splitting the East with Boston and New York. Those, when I look at tandems, Boston and New York, I think, are the 2 stronger tandems in the East. I would. Gosh, those are my 2. When I look out west, I'm going to go back to Dallas. I think there's something there that's special. I like, and my 2 on the East are on the West. I guess you could talk me into Vancouver. You gave me a good pitch for Vancouver. I think the mindset is so old Vancouver that as I watch it now, I'm like, it's kind of like watching Toronto making a run. You go, what am I watching? Train wreck here?
I'm not going to tell them you said that. Don't worry.
Do not.
Yeah, no, that's Jason, for you, who's winning the Stanley Cup based on goaltending?
Jesus, just based on goaltending? I'm gonna have to say that again, the Rangers. Yeah. Plus I picked them, I put a bet on them back in September.
Quick and Shesterkin.
Yeah. I think it's gotta be the Rangers.
What were the odds in September? What'd they have them at?
Oh gosh, I'd have to find my thing. I'll let you know. But I put $200 down. I think I win like $3,000 if they win.
Yeah.
That may happen. The Rangers are strong, man.
I think it was like plus 2,000, whatever. I don't know. I'm terrible with that stuff. But all I know is if they win the cup, I win money. That's all I know.
That's good.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, let's hope you get it.
There you go.
All right. Well, John Blue, really appreciate you coming on for this
You don't
pod.
get off that easy. Wait.
Oh, no, tell me.
What you give us your pick.
Oh, I'll give you my picks. I think Rangers in the East. I really feel strongly that team, not only do they have the goaltending, but they've got everything in front of them. But based on goaltending, I do think that Quick has been there. He's won a cup. He's won 2. And Shesterkin is just playing out of his head. He's an amazing goaltender. He's got all the talent. I think they're the tandem in the East. And in the West, it's a tough call. I mean, I agree with you. I think Dallas really has it. And Dallas has all the pieces in front too, but based on goaltending, I don't feel that strong. Well, I mean, Vancouver, I always liked Casey DeSmith. I always did. I'm going to go Vancouver. I'm coming around.
Don't tell me you just went with Vancouver over goaltending in Dallas and Ottenberg and what they're doing. And you just
I know.
It's
a tough call. Okay. It's a tough call.
Right.
I'm not a goaltender, so you know more than I do for sure. But based on goaltending, I'm going to go Dallas or Vancouver. I'll give you those 2. And my favorite, I'd love to see Casey DeSmith win a cup just because he's a great dude, and it'd be really awesome for. I'm sure Thatcher Demko would like to win too. It's not he's amazing. But
yeah,
it's gonna be a great playoff run because these teams are playing so well, and they're the ones that are playing well are really well coached.
Yeah,
they have.
Yeah.
I mean, Rick Tocchet, Phoenix fired him after he gets them to the playoffs for the first time in 12 centuries, and then they fire him. Like, what were they thinking? He's a great coach.
It makes total sense. It makes total sense
in Phoenix.
Yeah, that's right. Why they're Phoenix.
Because everything's upside down and backwards. It's like Stranger Things there.
Yep.
When it comes to hockey.
You're playing in a college rink and you're not filling it up. Come on. Something's up. You know who likes the Mullet Arena though is my daughter. They went to a game there and she said it was great because it's really quaint and cute and small. And I was like, you should tell the players that and see how they feel. Oh, I like your arena. It's quaint and cute and small and easy to get around.
Like a high school arena.
I love it.
Not gonna fly.
Yeah.
All right, Blue. Any final comments?
No, thank you guys. It's great. I'm looking forward to some great hockey. That maybe in the middle of the playoffs, get me back and see how absolutely wrong I am or right. We'll see. But I'm excited.
Cool, man. We really appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely do that as we come up to the Cup. I think that'll be a good roundup for us to get back to. I always feel like the discussions with you it really illuminates some parts of the game that are a little bit difficult for people to kind of wrap their head around. It's like, well, then there's the goalie, but but how important the goalie is to the success of a team, especially with the Stanley Cup. It really is. It's for real.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Appreciate you very much, Jason. Go Red Wings.
Thanks, Blue.
All right, John. Thanks again. Bye-bye. This is the Dr. Hockey Podcast, signing off with your prescription for the NHL.